On a PPSC 1 paper exam, there is exactly one block of marks that is completely finite, completely predictable, and completely under your control. It is the computer section. Most candidates spend months on current affairs, where the answers change every week, and almost no time here, where the answers never change at all. In this guide, I'll show you how to read past papers as a pattern map, and turn that section into a perfect score. Start with why this is worth your time. Current affairs is an infinite subject with a moving target, so no amount of study guarantees the mark. Computer studies is the opposite. The syllabus is small, the facts are settled, and the same handful of ideas come back paper after paper. Finite plus fixed plus repeating is the definition of a winnable section. And the marks are bigger than people assume. In Advertisement No. 7 of 2026, Junior Clerk has computers as a separate 20% section of a 100-mark paper. For Junior Computer Operator, MS Office and IT questions are effectively the entire paper. And for Assistant and Emergency Officer, it is one of 10 subjects in the General Ability paper, so around 10 marks. Know which one applies to you before you budget your time. The 20 in the title is not a slogan. For Junior Clerk at serials 73, 75, and 102, the paper is 100 marks in 90 minutes, and roughly 20% of it is questions relating to MS Office and computer skills. That is about 20 marks sitting in one predictable block. 20 marks is the difference between a merit list and a near miss. Here is the shift that changes everything. You are not being asked to build systems. You are being asked to recognize terms. The question is almost never how does paging work, it is which of these is an example of volatile memory. So stop reading textbooks front to back, and start collecting the exact words examiners reuse. Recognition, not engineering. When you tally enough past papers, almost every computer question falls into 8 buckets. Storage units and number systems. Hardware and memory. Operating systems. Networks. Protocols and models. MS Office and Excel. Shortcuts and file extensions. And Internet, email, and security. Master these 8 and you have covered the section. Let's go through the high-frequency content in each. Bucket 1, and it is the easiest free mark on the paper. Know the order of storage units without hesitating: bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte. 8 bits make 1 byte. 1 kilobyte is 1024 bytes, not 1000. The smallest unit is the bit. Questions here are pure recall, so there is no excuse for losing one. Alongside it, number systems. Binary is base 2, octal is base 8, decimal is base 10, and hexadecimal is base 16, which is why it borrows the letters A to F. The classic question asks you to convert a small binary number, so practice the first 16 values until they are instant. Binary 1010 is 10 in decimal. Bucket 2, hardware and memory. RAM is volatile working memory, which means it loses every. A close cousin of that is the input versus output question. Keyboard, mouse, scanner, and microphone are input. Monitor, printer, and speaker are output. The trap is the third category. A touchscreen, a modem, and a network card do both, and that is exactly the option examiners hide in a list. If a device sends and receives, it belongs in the both column. Let's test bucket 2. Which one of these is volatile memory? A. ROM. B. Hard disk. C. RAM. Or D. DVD. Pause the video and commit to an answer before I tell you. The answer is C. RAM. Volatile simply means the contents are lost the moment power is removed. ROM, hard disks, and DVDs all retain their data without power, so they are non-volatile. If you got that instantly, that is what every question in this bucket feels like once you have drilled it. Bucket 3, operating systems. An operating system manages 5 things: processes, memory, files, devices, and security. That 5-item list is itself a common question. And know your examples, because papers love asking which of these is an operating system, then hiding MS Office or Oracle in the options to catch you out. Now the vocabulary, and this is where marks are won. The kernel is the core of the operating system. Multitasking means one user running many tasks. Multi-programming means several programs held in memory at once. Spooling is queuing jobs, and it is nearly always asked about printers. And virtual memory is using disk space as if it were extra RAM. Learn these as definitions you can recite. 2 operating system terms come back more than any others. Deadlock, which is a set of processes each waiting on the other so none of them ever proceeds. And scheduling, which is how the system decides who runs next. Know the 4 names: first come first served, shortest job first, round robin, and priority. Round robin is the one that gives every process a fixed time slice, and it is the most asked of the 4. Bucket 4, networks. LAN covers a single building, MAN covers a city, and WAN spans a country or the globe. The Internet is the largest WAN. Then topologies: bus, star, ring and mesh. Star is the most common in modern local networks, and the one to name if a question asks which topology uses a central hub or switch. Here is a genuine trap. Examiners love asking which device works at which layer. A hub is physical layer. A switch is data link layer. A router is network layer, and its job is connecting different networks to each other. If you remember nothing else, remember router equals network layer, because that pairing appears constantly. Bucket 5, protocols, and this is the highest yield table in the whole section. HTTP and HTTPS serve web pages. FTP transfers files. SMTP sends email, while POP3 and IMAP receive it. That sending versus receiving split is asked constantly. DNS translates a domain name into an IP address. And DHCP hands out IP addresses automatically. Learn this table as a table. One contrast inside that bucket deserves its own slide. TCP is connection-oriented and reliable. It sets up a 3-way handshake and guarantees your data arrives in order. UDP is connectionless and fast, with no guarantee at all, which is why it suits live video and voice calls. Reliable versus fast is the whole answer to almost every question comparing them. Now the models. The OSI model has 7 layers: physical, data link, network, transport, session, presentation and application. Use any mnemonic you like, but be able to give the number of a layer and the name of a layer both ways round. The TCP/IP model compresses the same ideas into 4 layers. If a question says how many layers without naming the model, it almost always means OSI, and the answer is 7. And a small set of port numbers is worth pure memorization, because these are free marks. 21 is FTP, 25 is SMTP, 53 is DNS, 80 is HTTP. And 443 is HTTPS. 5 numbers, 5 services. 10 minutes of drilling buys you a mark you would otherwise guess at. Question 2. Which protocol is used to send email? A. POP3. B. SMTP. C. FTP. Or D. DNS. Pause and answer. This exact question, in this exact shape, is one of the most repeated in the whole section. The answer is B. SMTP, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and the word transfer is your memory hook for sending. POP3 and IMAP are the receiving side. Examiners flip this question around and ask which one receives, so learn the pair together rather than one at a time. Bucket 6, MS Office. In Word, mail merge is the single most asked feature, so know that it combines a document with a data source to produce personalized letters. In PowerPoint, F5 starts the slideshow from the beginning. And do not forget Access, the database member of the suite, which shows up whenever a question asks which Office application manages data. Excel deserves its own slide because it is dense with testable detail. Every formula begins with an equals sign. No SUM, average, count and IF by shape, not just by name. And no cell references. A1 is relative, so it shifts when you copy the formula, while $1 is absolute and stays locked. Relative versus absolute is the classic Excel question. Bucket 7, and these are the most reliable marks on the entire paper. Ctrl-C, V and X are copy, paste and cut. Ctrl-Z undoes and Ctrl-Y redos. Ctrl-B, I and U are bold, italic and underline. Control S saves, Control P prints, Control F finds. And Control S selects all. Nothing here requires understanding. It requires 20 minutes and a flashcard app. Paired with shortcuts or file extensions, which work the same way. .docx is Word, .xlsx is Excel, .pptx is PowerPoint. .exe is an executable program. .jpg and .png are images, .mp4 is video, .zip is a compressed archive, and .html is a web page. Pure recall, zero reasoning. Question 3, and it should be instant. Control Z does what? A. Save. B. Undo. C. Select all. Or D. Print. If you had to think about that for more than a second, this bucket is where your next study hour should go. The answer is B. Undo, with Control Y as its partner for redo. And that is the real lesson here: learn shortcuts in pairs, because examiners test them as opposites. Copy and paste. Bold and italic. Undo and redo. Pairs stick in memory far better than isolated facts. Bucket 8, Internet and Email. First, the Internet and the World Wide Web are not the same thing. The Internet is the network, the web is the collection of pages carried over it. In email, CC is carbon copy and every recipient can see it, while BCC is blind carbon copy and stays hidden from the others. That visible versus hidden contrast is the standard email question. And the security half of that bucket. A virus needs a host file and a user action to spread. A worm replicates itself across a network with no help at all. A Trojan is malware disguised as something useful. Phishing is fake messages designed to steal your credentials. And a firewall filters traffic in both directions. Virus versus worm is the distinction examiners return to most. Question 4. Which of these self-replicates across a network without any user action? A. Virus. B. Trojan. C. Worm. Or D. Firewall. Pause and decide. The wording of this question is deliberately close to the definition of a virus, so read it carefully. The answer is C. Worm. A worm spreads entirely on its own, while a virus needs you to open or run something first. And notice the technique: the phrase self-replicating is the giveaway word planted in the question. Learning to spot the giveaway word is a skill in itself, and it is exactly what past papers train. So that is the content. Now the method, which is the part almost nobody does. Step 1. Collect around 5 years of past papers, and make sure they are for your post type, because a junior clerk paper and an assistant paper weight this section differently. Step 2. Write every computer question you find onto a single sheet. Step 3. Tag each question with one of the 8 bucket numbers. Then simply count the tags. The result is always the same shape. A small number of buckets carry most of the questions. Some topics appear almost every single year, and a few appear once in 5 years. That tally is your study order. It is the difference between studying everything equally and studying what is actually asked. Most candidates never do this, which is precisely why it works. Out of that tally, build one page. For every recurring term, write the word and a single line of definition. Volatile, contents lost when power is off. Kernel, the core of the operating system. DNS, turns a domain name into an IP address. One page, revised in 5 minutes, is worth more than 100-page book you read once and never return to. Before you go, the traps. Sending versus receiving email. Volatile versus non-volatile memory. Virus versus worm. Internet versus World Wide Web. Every one of these is a pair where the two members look alike and mean different things. And a practical note: in factual list questions like these, all of the above is correct more often than nervous candidates expect, so do not rule it out on instinct. One more strategic point. 100 marks in 90 minutes gives you under a minute per question on average. But computer questions are pure recall, so you should be clearing them in 15 or 20 seconds each. Do that deliberately, and you bank several minutes for the basic mathematics and English sections, where the thinking actually happens. The computer block is where you buy time, not spend it. If you want a schedule, here is a 7-day version. Days 1 and 2 on shortcuts, file extensions and storage units, because they are pure memory and they build confidence fastest. Day 3, hardware and memory. Day 4, operating systems. Day 5, networks, protocols and ports. Day 6, MS Office and Excel. And Day 7, sit a full past paper under real timing. 1 week, properly spent, is genuinely enough for this section. Now your turn, and I read every comment on these. Of the 8 buckets, which one is weakest for you right now? Operating systems, networks, or MS Office? Comment the number of your weakest bucket below, and if enough of you name the same one, I'll make a full drill video on it next. One honest caution before the recap. Everything here is preparation guidance, built from the subjects the advertisement itself names. PPSC publishes its official syllabus and test schedules only on its own website, ppsc.gop.pk, check it there, and be skeptical of anyone claiming to know the exact questions in advance. Quick recap. The computer section is finite and it repeats, which makes it winnable. 8 buckets cover almost every question. Tally past papers and let that tally set your study order. Learn pairs and tables rather than paragraphs. And on exam day, answer these fast so you buy time for the sections that need thinking. 20 marks, 1 week of proper drilling, and a section you can walk into knowing you will not drop a mark. That is a genuinely achievable target, and very few of your competitors will have done it. Comment your weakest bucket below, subscribe for the full drill videos on each one, and I'll see you in the next guide. Good luck!